Awesome. Welcome everybody to our chat tonight on homeopathy. I have the beautiful Pam Andrews with me tonight. I'm going to let her introduce herself in just a second. A couple of things I wanted to cover off on just for our AO scan team. This is your last day pretty much to qualify for the next incentive trip. So yeah, we've probably left it a little late, but probably actually you have until basically tomorrow. So yes, to get that first month qualification happening, and then you need the next 2 months to qualify for that one. Also, this month's incentive for July, which is starting well for us tomorrow, is free QLA enrollment. So that's always an amazing one to help people when they're signing up. I nearly signed a new person up today and I said, nope, we're going to wait. We're going to wait until the first so you can become a QLA. So that is that $49 waived, which is amazing. Beck, can you think of any other things that we need to? DOD is happening in September. Yeah, 10th, I think, and 11th, or around those dates. It's the Friday and
12th and
Saturday.
13th.
Sorry,
And
12th
there
and
are
13th.
12th and 13th. And there are so
And
many of us going. It's going to be so exciting.
yes,
So
there's quite a few going. So yes, I don't know if I am though. And we also have the Bali trip coming up too in
yes,
August.
August. So we're
Dates.
doing that the 25th to the 30th of August. We do have 2 or 3 spots left. That is all we have left. So
Amazing.
and we have payment plans available as well. So anybody wanting to come along to that, Heather's smiling and nodding. So I'll put Heather down specifically for Bali. Good work, Heather. Yeah, so just shout out if you've got questions or you think it might be something that you may wish to attend or just want to ask questions about, please just feel free to ask as well. That's perfectly fine.
Perfect. Awesome. So I just want to say that Sue has said she uses it on and off. This is for homeopathy, but not regularly enough. Rachel has a homeopathic first aid kit, but still doesn't know how to use it properly. And I don't know who Samsung is, but whoever you are, says using it for 18 years. So yeah, I'm a little bit the same. I have been using homeopathy for a really long time. And I will admit, I do Google when I need to know, and now I chat a little bit as well with ChatGPT when I need to know things. But I just love how effective it is. Like, it's an amazing thing. And I've had, as we go through tonight, I'll share a few things that have, even with the AO scan that I've seen happen. And I just, sorry, it's Nat. Okay, Nat, sorry. Nat is Samsung. That's good. Yeah, and so I just love it so much. I've used it for my kids. Like, I just, when you nail the remedy for your kids, it's just phenomenal what you can do with it. And I know that by just sharing the little that I know with people, it's completely transformed, things for them. So I think we have an amazing capability within the AO scan, but I also believe it's really great to speak to a homeopath and to get, pick their brains and get some wisdom in that. So tonight I'm going to be asking questions. However, if you have questions yourself, then please pop them in the chat, and if we have time, I can cross over to you as well. But let's welcome the beautiful Pam Andrews tonight. So Pam and I actually met at an amazing networking event we were both attending. And we just connected straight away. She's got such a beautiful personality and just gorgeous. And yeah, it was an instant connection, wasn't it, Pam? So
Yeah.
when I was thinking about doing this call tonight, I was like, oh, I'll check whether Pam can make it. And yeah. And I know she's got a lot of knowledge to share with us. So Pam, would you mind just giving us a little intro into you and how you came to be a homeopath and all of the things?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me along. It's a real honor, and thank you for the opportunity. So how did I start in homeopathy? Well, it's kind of a bit of a bizarre story, but I was over in England at the time, and like most people, when I heard about homeopathy, I thought a load of rubbish. It's all in the mind. If you believe something's going to work, it will work. And I was brought up on a farm, very traditional, very conservative. You went to the doctor, you got vaccinated, you had, you got, you took your medication. However, I did, I wasn't sick a lot as a child, but I was, um, I guess, a bit poorly, so I used to get hay fever. I was allergic to absolutely everything. I was sick every winter. I'd get bronchitis, I'd get earaches, I'd get blocked nose, I'd get sinus issues. And that was every winter without fail. And I also couldn't breathe through my nose very well. So I was a bit of a mouth breather. And I think my mum was more worried about the aesthetics than the actual health problems of being a mouth breather. But anyway, but the thing was, is I went every year, I had some sort of procedure, like I had steroid injections up my nose. I had the lining taken out of my nose. I went on diets. I had the scratches up my, I had all this stuff, right? And nothing worked. Nothing, if it did work, it came back. And it may, even at a really young age, I thought something's not right here. But I had nothing to compare it to, so I just carried on my merry way. And overall, as a young person, I was pretty healthy. However, I went to England. I was about in my early 20s, and the first person that introduced to me the beginning of that there was something else out there was this guy I was working with, Simon, who was a really lovely guy. He was a vegetarian. He married to his wife forever, his girlfriend forever. He was a lead guitarist in a heavy metal band, and he used Bach flowers. And I was just like, what? And he said, yeah, it treats your mental and emotional symptoms. And I thought, what? You have control over your mental and emotional symptoms? I was just like, what? And so I never pursued that side of things, but it sowed a seed. And then I was traveling through Europe. I took a year off. I was cycling through Europe. I went and stayed with my friend in Wales, and everyone was off to the homeopath. And I was just like, what is this? So they tried to explain to me, the dilutions and the light cures like and what have you, all flew over my head. However, one thing stuck, and it was you're treating the individual. And so I sort of thought about it, and I thought, that so makes sense, treating the person. Um, Once again, that was that. And I never gave it any more thought. I carried on my trip around Europe, cycling away. And about 6 months later, I went home, and I honestly had not, I still didn't really know what homeopathy was. But anyway, went home, went back to New Zealand, and the family were already scratching their head about, what have we got here, and they said, so what are you going to do now? And no word of a lie, I opened my mouth and out came become a homeopath. And I was just like, where did that come from? I hadn't thought about it. It just whoop, out it came. But it seemed so right. And
Love
I knew nothing. I was a clean slate. I knew absolutely nothing.
it.
But I knew in my heart, yes, that's what I want to do. And so I enrolled in the college, and as soon as I started, I was just like, yes, this makes so much sense. I love it. And I loved the whole studying, and I just felt it became a real process. And it wasn't just learning to be a homeopath, it became this stepping stone and perpetual motion of life in general. I then took an interest in Buddhism, and then I took an interest in acupuncture, and suddenly my world just became bigger, 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 and until it just made zero sense to go to a doctor, you know.
I hear you.
And then I opened a little clinic, and then, on I went from there.
Amazing. I love that so much. I think many of us here would have a similar experience in different modalities potentially. I know for me, definitely. That's something that's, yeah, resonates for sure. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about it. So you are what's called a classical homeopath. That's right?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
So how does that differ to some of the other types of homeopathy? Because some people, you know, on the call may have been to see different types of homeopaths who work in different ways. So what's a classical as opposed to the other types?
Yeah, great question. Well, so a classical homeopath is the original how
OG.
homeopathy was intended to be, how it was intended to be used. You know, there was laws sort of put into place, and those laws, you know, like nothing's changed. You know, like what they used and how they did it, and the remedies they used back in the 1800s, exactly what we do now. There's no different. However, there is always going to be shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
And so in India, they, I, I, in India, homeopathy is second nature. There's, you know, everyone knows a homeopath. There's a homeopath on every street. And so they know the fundamentals. And so they have a system called the Banerjee protocols. Now, in a way, that's a little bit like you have, let's say, you're out walking and you get a tick bite, okay? And so the Banerjee protocols is kind of like where you take lead 200 3 times a day for 3 days, say something like that. So it's kind of like a recipe.
Mm-hmm.
It works in India because they've got the fundamentals. But what's happened is homeopaths have taken the recipe, if you like, and brought it to Western world, thrown at people that have no knowledge, and so it's kind of lost its elegance, if you like, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
And is that what we call practical homeopathy then?
Yeah, it kind of gets twisted. Yeah, it can be called practical homeopathy. So, for example, an example of classical homeopathy as opposed to, say, the practical homeopathy. If you got bitten by a tick, one of the laws is the law of minimum dose. So we give the least amount because it's a stimulus to stimulate the
Mm-hmm.
body to heal itself. And we're matching the potency to the vitality of the person.
Mm-hmm.
So something like a bite is a 1 dose of 30C is probably enough to get that tick bite venom to come to the surface and come out of the body. If you've got someone that's really sensitive and reacts really quite badly, using practical homeopathy and a 200C might be too strong for them, and they could react, you know, because you can get your aggravations, you can have things go wrong, if you like. So that's the that's probably one example. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. I did a little research into what we're doing with the AO scan, and it's actually complex homeopathy. So that's a kind of different blend as well. And I guess because it's looking at the organs and the meridians and all of those different things and the underlying things, so then it's sort of going on with that. So if anyone's interested in that, that is the approach that AO scan is using with it. So that's
Yeah.
also a little bit different. So let's get
I was
into
just going to add
foundation.
on. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we do say using that terminology. So, say in a complex case, say a complex, a child with behavioural disorders, say nonverbal, for example. There's a lot going on. So you've got vaccine clears, you've got medication clears, you've got all sorts of stuff. You'd do, in that situation, you'd do the constitutional remedy, which is the one remedy that fits them. However, as you mentioned, there's organs that aren't functioning quite as well as they should be. So we'd take that into consideration and we'd use organ support remedies if need be. If it looked like there was a block somewhere, we'd also use bowel nosodes and that sort of thing, or miasmatic blocks or anything like that if we saw fit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, what exactly is a homeopathic remedy and how does it differ from herbal or nutritional supplements?
Great. Okay. So the beauty of homeopathy is in the dilutions. So the basics of homeopathy is like cures like. So if something can cause symptoms, it can cure symptoms.
That's why we see things like arsenic, right? In the
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
toolbox.
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And and the thing is with arsenic is they fear of dying, so it's used in murder mysteries, but so you got this sort of polar. Anyway, what was the question?
So what is it, and how does it differ
Oh,
from the
yeah,
herbal
yeah.
one?
So
Yeah.
the dilutions.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hahnemann, the creator of homeopathy, found that using the raw substances was a bit crude. So he then brought in dilutions. So what happens is you'll get a mother tincture, which is a herb in pure alcohol. From that, 1 drop gets taken and put into 100 drops of alcohol. Then it's succussed and shaken up. That's now 1C. From that, 1 drop gets taken and added to 100 drops of alcohol, shaken up. That's now 2C. So on and so forth. So a 6C, which you'll see in the house shops, that's been diluted and succussed 6 times, 12 times, 30C, 30 times, 200C, 1M, 10M, 50M. Okay? As it gets more and more diluted, the more powerful it becomes. In the way that, say we're going to use an organ support. Say someone had some issue with their liver. You would give a 6C daily for say a week or two. That's fine, because it's just targeting that little area.
Yep.
A 30C, say, like I mentioned before, you had a tick bite, you could take a 30C, or maybe you're treating a cough or cold, 30C is totally fine. 200C, we're starting to look at the mental and emotionals, and it's more the practitioner using those higher potencies. There isn't really a need for home practitioners to use high potencies. However, and say a first aid situation like say someone's had a head injury, Arnica 200 or 1M would be more effective than a 30C. So as the potency gets higher, the sphere of action gets stronger.
Yep.
So say you've got someone that's harboring a really broken heart, they're just not moving forward. You might look at a 1M or 10M to shift that, because like I
Jumpstart
say,
it
yeah,
almost.
you're matching the potency to the vitality and the intensity of the symptoms. Yeah.
Cool. And how do you make them? How do you make your homeopathic?
Well, yeah, no, so I buy them from a pharmacy,
Okay.
but they are actually traditionally made. So they're handmade.
Okay.
Which is some pharmacies do use what's called radionics, or uses the machine,
Yep.
and that's okay. It comes down to personal preference.
Yep. And
That
do you
they
find that the homemade, like the traditionally made ones, are more effective for you?
yeah, and they last longer, and it's a there's no is it working? Is it not working? I'm not sure. There's a definite, holy heck, it's working,
Yeah, cool. So just like for AO scan, it is radionics that we're using to imprint the things. So that's what imprint the either water or tinctures or homeopathic pilules. And it does tend to be on that lower dose side when it's the complex. So just so you know, but
Yeah.
Solex have never come out and said what the dosage actually is with it. However, they've just said the body will take what it needs from what it gets. So I just wanted to clarify that. And how do you determine whether someone needs a constitutional remedy versus an acute or a miasmatic remedy?
Yeah, sure. So generally, it becomes down to an acute or a chronic situation. So an acute is something that's short term and generally has just happened. So you come down for the cold, you come down with, an earache or whatever. Whereas a chronic is something that you've had long term, and that is what we would treat constitutionally as a remedy to fit them as a person. Because the thing is it's not the disease we're treating, it's the person. The person has created the disease. And so that's what we treat.
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. And what was I going to say? So, how would, or what are some ways that practitioners can interpret or validate the homeopathics that appear in the AO scan results? Like, how would they sort of go and say, all right, well, I know some of us are actually using ChatGPT to kind of see what's coming up in their scans on the easy. So I showed you the easy scan the other day. And for anybody who doesn't know, maybe I'll show that really quickly, actually. Let me just do that. Just share my screen. So what are some of the ways, that we could verify that, do you think? I'm just trying to find.
Yeah, like it would definitely help with, things that maybe not that obvious. So like metal toxicity or parasites or things like that. I think with choice of remedy, could be a little bit off because it's the beauty of a constitutional remedy is it's the totality of symptoms. So it's your mental and emotional symptoms and the physical symptoms. We have 8,000 remedies to choose from. And I think you still need to know what the remedies, what the keynotes of the remedies are. So it's a tool, it's a handy tool, but I wouldn't run a practice just on it.
No, absolutely not. I think that you would need definitely some extras for that. So I just wanted to show quickly for those on the call, when you are in supplements and therapies, there is the homeopathics on this little book here. So if you go to your name and you say supplements and therapies, you can go in and you can see here it has a heap of also the homeoenergetics in here, but a lot of the homeopathics. And so you can say select all. Mine will not highlight because they're already added to me. But if you have a new client in there or family members who don't have it in there, you can say select all and then add to client down the bottom. And then when you do things like a quick scan or an easy scan, these will come up as remedies if they're noted. So for instance, this was my report this morning. And it was funny actually because Pam and I were on a call, just a quick call, just to, chat about what we would be doing for this call. And there was a particular remedy that came up, and I said to Pam, "Oh, what would that sort of indicate?" And she was like, "Oh, this, and it was sepia, wasn't it, Pam?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is me!" Like, and it was so funny. And I thought I had sepia as an actual remedy, but I didn't. I went looking for it and I couldn't find it, so I ended up imprinting it and taking it. But this is actually what came up. Could be quite interesting. But what came up for me today, Pam, was belladonna, and I was quite interested in this, and also magphos from a cell salts perspective. What would belladonna suggest to you as a bit of an acute? Because I think it's probably more of an acute thing for me. Yeah.
So belladonna is part of the Solanaceae family. So that is very much inflammation, suddenness of sudden and intense symptoms, throbbing headache, red face.
Sorry.
They can even go to the point of a little bit hallucinogenic. But even on a smaller scale, say if you've got something to get an infection and it's red hot and throbbing, could take a wee dose of belladonna for that.
Yeah, well, we've got a house full of sickies at the moment. So the lurgy is here, and I have had a low grade fever, and I thought, oh, maybe that, and also just a low grade headache for the last sort of 3 days. So I was like, I feel like that might be kind of nailing it, along with the Magfos, actually. So that
I
was
think the Magfos more so. Like belladonna's intense. It's an
intense.
intense
Yeah.
headache. Whereas the another one is Ferrum-Phos.
Yeah.
Was that low grade. It's not really making, too much of a disruption, but belladonna's a bit
Yeah.
more, got a bit
Yeah,
more
okay.
intensity
And
to
that's
it.
interesting because all of the ones around me have had that really intense. I haven't,
Oh,
but
well
then
then.
there's the quantum entanglement kind of happening there too, I believe. So yeah, that's really interesting. So anyway, I just wanted to show that. Also, so you can do an easy scan as well. The other thing that you can do with the AO scan, just so you're aware, if anyone's watching, and I did show Pam this the other day, but we can go into homeopathics and select by symptom, or you can go in and select the actual homeopathics in there by cell salts and no-sodes, or by symptoms. And I'll share a bit of a testimonial about the by symptoms a little bit later. So, but I still want to ask a few questions of you, Pam, while we've got you. So we'll come back to that.
I'll just say with the chat GPT, I wouldn't rely on it 100%.
No.
You still need to, it's handy, but
Yes.
remember,
Yeah.
they're just grabbing the information off someone else's website. So if someone else's website
Yes.
isn't entirely correct, then
Yeah.
they just pass as Chinese whispers that, aren't really correct. So.
What I have found to be beneficial with ChatGPT is to actually train it. So if you have a trusted source and you ask it to go to that particular trusted source, or if you upload your own information as well. So perhaps you've got your own resources on it. I know that, there are a few good books and things out there that you may be able to upload, and then that way your chat will use the
Yeah.
information that's actually validated and, that type of thing. So I feel like that's probably a better way. Are there any resources like that you could suggest that you would recommend? Or do you have a Bible that you, refer to, or is that all kind of practitioner stuff?
Well, so this is what I use. So I am pretty old school, I have to admit, just because it's just what works for me, And so when they make a remedy, what they do is they'll get 100 people, they take the remedy and they see what symptoms are produced, okay? So you can ask me any symptom, it will be in here. And
Yeah.
so it's all categorized. This is called a repertory. It's looking a little bit ratty, but so
Sign of a
yeah.
good book.
Yeah, so it's called a repertory, and it's all categorized in various parts of the body.
Yep.
And then under, say, headache, 3 p.m. after the sun, there'll be the remedies that have that symptom. And
Yeah.
so what happens is we will collate, say if someone's sick and that was one of the symptoms, we'll add that. And then thirsty or not thirsty, hot, want to be on their own, etc. And so use the
It's
totality.
phenomenal how that works. I remember the first homeopath that I went to see. He was an older guy, and he literally lived in a shack in Noosa, like in the middle of Noosa, in this tiny little shack, smoked like a chimney. And he was asking all these random questions. And I was just like, what is this guy? Like, exactly like that. Is it, are you thirsty? Are you not? And this, and I'm like, this is weird, but he would nail it every time. So it was pretty cool.
What
All
did
right.
he give you?
Oh gosh, so many over the time.
Oh,
I would take one remedy for 6 weeks or something, and then I'd see him again, and we'd shift it, and yeah. So
wow, awesome.
it was a long process. Yeah, he was great. I loved him. Right. So I think this is a bit of a yeah, because it's one of the questions is about your favorite sort of go-to remedies for things like anxiety or overwhelm or adrenal fatigue, like that type of thing. But it really kind of comes down to the constitution of the person, doesn't it?
Well, it does. I mean, once again, we can treat them acutely or constitutionally.
Yep.
So, say someone's having an anxiety attack, we can treat it at that point.
Yep.
And that's the option we have. We can say, hey, we can treat for now, but ideally we want to make this long term so
Yep.
it doesn't keep coming back. Or when it does come back, it's not as intense.
Yeah. And so
So
that's when you'd switch to a constitutional kind of remedy.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
when we would treat, and maybe it is better for them if we
Mm.
treat them when they're sort of on a good level rather than wait till they're spinning out. But yeah, I mean, aconite, what a fantastic remedy. I mean, I've seen people just gone from cannot leave the house, absolutely terrified, PTSD, to going jogging the next day down the
Amazing.
road. Not
Love
far,
aconite. I
not
love it.
far, just think,
Yeah,
oh, just run to the end of the block and back. But it was a start.
absolutely.
And then they just slowly got further and further. And I'm going to give you a little clue. They didn't actually know they had taken it. I slipped.
Ah, you slipped it in. And so what, another thing is, okay, so I'll come back to that question in a minute, Rosie, but what are the signs that a remedy's working and what might be a healing crisis versus a sign that it's not the right remedy? I was sharing with you an incident, with one of my clients actually, on the weekend, wasn't I? And so yeah, what would be your signs with that? So for my particular person I was working with, her body was, well, she'd had the flu. We don't know whether that's just because there's lurgies around at the moment, but also we were working with menstruation and pretty horrible menstrual kind of issues, and she'd started to spot. And so she got a little bit scared and stopped taking it. But in my mind, I was like, oh, I kind of feel like, because it was quite a deep remedy, kind of feel like this might be a healing crisis rather than, it being the wrong remedy. So what would you sort of do in that case?
Okay. So the signs of the remedy working is the body heals from above down, from within to without, and from the last symptom to appear is the first one to leave. So a reversal. So
That's good.
to put that into as kind of perspective, is your organs, the most important is the brain, followed by the heart and lungs, followed by the gut, followed by bowels, and the least important is the skin. Obviously, they're all important, but the thing is, the skin is replenishable. You can't do without a brain, You can. So what happens when a remedy can work is, say something like eczema or something like that. That's a toxin trying to get out of the system. Okay. And so it's kind of frustrating that the pharmaceutical system then slathers it with steroids, pushes it back in, and then it's trying to push, so you got this push-pull going on. And then if they do succeed in pushing it in, they push it through to a more detrimental space, like the organ, like the lungs, which is usually where it goes, then you end up with asthma. So then you get asthma and eczema being passed through generations. Anyway, back to the, sorry, I get a bit sidetracked. But anyway,
Okay, I love it. It's good. It's all good information.
so from above to below is, so if an improvement on mental emotional. Now, how would that demonstrate? Let's say you've got a child at home and, they think they're thick, can't do anything, and they're just lying there. And then you give them a remedy, and then they still feel sick, but they start to take a bit of notice of it. They might pick up a toy, or, might want to get out of bed or have a drink. You just see a bit more sort of, I want to do something, So improvement on mental and emotional is number one.
Okay. Yep.
Because you think about it, when we feel good mentally, we can take on anything. We can do, we're on top of the world. And so that is our number one place. And then from within to without. So obviously your organs that are deep inside are most important, and then the skin least important. So say for instance, say you're treating an acute, you've got a child that's sick at home and you give them a remedy and they throw up. Bad sign, good sign. It's a great sign, because they get it out. Same if they go to the toilet. Obviously, if these things are prolonged, if it goes on and on and on, that's not so good. That means like something's there's something else going on.
Mm.
But if it's just a expulsion, great. That's a great sign. And
And
if they
so in
keep,
that case, the case that I shared with you earlier with the girl getting the flu, could that also be a sign of her body working things out of her body?
it could be because so in homeopathy we call the immune system the vital force. And so when a remedy hits the vital force, it reacts. Okay, so you got the energy of the remedy matches the energy of the person, and you get a reaction. Now, that what happens next, we have no control over. We don't know what's going to happen. We hope, we just hope things will get better, but we don't know the actual steps, of what's going to happen next. And so, the flu is a really good sign of the vital force reacting.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, as long as it's not, I mean, yeah, there is bugs and things going on, and maybe her vitality might have been a bit low, which made her a bit susceptible, but it's still a reaction, and it's not a bad one.
Yeah, and as long as her mental state was not in decline, like that was actually picking up. Yeah,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
cool. And can you share a clinical example of how you've seen a remedy shift a chronic issue, especially one that would be like tracked by AO scan, for instance, like inflammation or toxicity or hormonal markers?
That hasn't been picked up or
No,
has?
that well, they're the sort of things that the AO scan will pick up, like it'll pick up, those sort of chronic things. But have you got an example of, where it's shifted something like that in your practice?
Well, that's our whole goal is to
Yeah,
shift everything.
yeah.
I mean, the big ones that I'm seeing at the moment is working with ADHD kids. Well, here's one I had recently. Little boy, non-verbal, um, uh, destructive, ADHD, probably borderline autistic, very picky eater, attacked all his family. He was dynamite, okay? Anyway, I gave him a remedy, and the next day, the mum's like, wait a minute, what? Oh no, but it's not all good. So he wakes up, he's in a great mood, he does exactly what he's told, he doesn't dart across the road, he walked, and she's like, what? After one remedy, I don't believe this. Anyway, so the next day, he held. He held the house down for about 3 days. And I'm thinking, oh, shucks, what have I done? And so I put my thinking cap on and thought about it. And there was a few other clues. I think what had happened was the remedy I gave had opened the case. Now we had a new picture. So then the next remedy I gave was hyoscyamus. And then I didn't hear from her. And I'm thinking, so what's been happening? He started talking. He
Wow.
started this, he was about 2 years
Incredible.
old, and she said he's talking. Only one word at a time, but he's starting to say words. And I'm
Wow.
like, what? I just wanted to stop screaming.
That's
But
incredible.
so
Yeah.
that was the next thing. And then he but I sort of left it for a while. So we don't try and repeat remedies too often. Just let it do its work. So I touched base with her about a month later, and he was engaging, like the photos I had seen before that, before he'd taken a remedy, the lights were on, but no one was home. He just wasn't there. He
Yeah.
had, yeah, he was really zoned out, um, unless he was attacking something. Whereas now he was engaging, and he had a bright eyes, like a little 2-year-old should have, and he was excited, and he was watching stuff on the cell phone and giggling and laughing. Didn't really get the joke, but he was engaging,
Yeah.
and so that was just so exciting.
That's
So
incredible.
we've put another remedy in, so we'll just wait and see.
That's incredible. That's so rewarding as well, I can imagine. And that's one of your kind of focus areas, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Children with
So
ADHD and nonverbal and yeah,
yeah, so well, that's where I mean, I treat anyone, but
yeah,
at the moment, I'm particularly keen on treating children just because I know that homeopathy can really make waves, and I'm terrified of what the alternative is. You know, like the pharmaceutical medicine
everything.
and the I don't know. I just think kids are just caught in in the crossfire right now, and yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, no, that's really good info. Um, so when you're working with like the homeopathy, and do you see that there's benefit in like the emotional component of the remedies working alongside tools like, you know, this we work with an inner voice, for instance, a sound therapy and that sort of thing.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, for
you feel
sure.
like there's a
There's room for everything. I
yeah,
mean, obviously, and you know what it's like when you first become a practitioner, is your practice, your therapy is number one, and
yeah,
it saved the world.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
And if everyone just did what I do, then we'd all be good.
yeah,
But but then you realize there's limitations. Of course there is. There's limitations in homeopathy. There's limitations in kinesiology.
yeah.
And we've got to learn what we are capable of doing, and we've got to learn what where something else is going to be work better. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, just on that note, what are some of the important things that a non-homeopath, so AO scan practitioners, for instance, should know before suggesting or sending frequencies for a remedy?
Okay. I would definitely learn the remedies. I wouldn't. You can probably get a materia medica, and
Mm.
that will go through
I
each.
have one of those actually. I had a friend who was studying homeopathy and she gave me all of her books, and I was like,
Oh,
cool, but I've never known how to look at that, how to read them properly.
yeah, yeah. Well, that they can be a little bit, I guess, sort of bit wild because obviously it's not every aspect, you know.
Mm.
Um, but it's just what's come up in the provings, and that's what's really interesting. Um,
Also, just for everyone on the call, there is a lady, Alice Gerain, who has a course in the Solex University. She also has a working document. So when I was speaking about potentially uploading things to AI, then that could possibly be a document that you could upload there. And she also updates that constantly with information and stuff. So, you know, something like that potentially as a reference guide. And she works in quite closely with Solex, with, you know, with their remedies and different things. So anyway, that's just a suggestion as a, I guess, a resource to
mm,
use. And if you wanted to learn more, um, yeah. And that's, yeah, so you've got a text there that you use. Is there any other pathways or anything that you could recommend? I know that you hold home, like some courses, like sort of short courses and things, and
yeah,
first aid.
yeah.
Someone mentioned on the call that they had a first aid kit, and I did a first aid thing years and years and years ago when the kids were little, and I got my little, you know, pack of all the first. I've still got it. It's still most of them are still full because I didn't need to use them all of the time. But you run courses like that
Yeah.
as well, right? Yeah,
So this is one I've made up myself.
yeah,
And the thing is, yeah, it's learning all the remedies in a first in a first response situation.
mm,
And when we think of first aid, we think, boring. But the thing is, it's not. It's the things like shock. What if you've came across someone that's just been in a car accident? You've got someone with whiplash, someone with concussion, someone spinning out. There's a remedy for each of those situations, you know,
yeah.
if you know how. And I tell you what, I wish, you know, I just wish that everyone just had those basic knowledge. I mean, there was a
They should
time.
teach it in first aid courses.
Yes, yeah, well, that's the thing. So I've got a therapeutics course coming up end of this month.
Mhm.
But I'm also going to do an online one, and I'm going to throw in the first aid half price if you do the
Okay.
therapeutics. So,
And what does that mean?
uh,
What do you mean therapeutics?
so the therapeutics is going to be a cough. So all your sort of things that as a mum that you're going to have to face treating. So things like measles, RSV, chickenpox,
Fruit.
colds, flus,
Mm,
sore throats, travel sickness, that sort of thing. Yeah, food
yeah, right.
poisoning. Yeah.
Ah, very cool. Oh, that sounds great. That's a little bit of a, yeah, bit of a different approach to the one that I did. But that's really cool. I love that. Awesome. What I was going to just share quickly as well, I said that I would share that when, and I'd love your opinion on what was happening with this actually as well. Sorry, I'm just trying to look for my share screen. So, quite a while ago now, my mother-in-law came, and some of you might have heard this story, so apologies if you have, but Solex had just released the by symptoms category in their CEFI, and my mother-in-law came to stay, and she checked herself out of hospital way too early, and she'd been in and out of hospital for months on end. Was too sick to be home, and I was scared literally that she was going to die in my spare room because she wasn't speaking, she wasn't eating, she wasn't, we had to get her a doorbell so we could actually hear her because she was down the other end of the house, and we had to keep it locked up because she was so cold. We had to have the heater on, and we could not hear her because she couldn't speak very loudly. So that's the dire straits that we were in. And I literally, it had come out that day, and I was literally going through it, and I went, what can I run for her? Like, what homeopathics can I do for her? And I got down and I saw palliative care, and it just jumped out at me. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I feel like's going on here. So let's do it. So I literally went in, and usually I would scan because that's a capability, right, that we can do in the AO scan. But I was so desperate, I literally just pressed broadcast. And I broadcasted that to her for probably half an hour before she rang that doorbell and said, I'm ready to get up. I want to come out and see the boys, and I want to have dinner with you. I didn't run that again. I ran a couple of other things for her. She had rheumatoid arthritis going on. But from that moment on until the end of her life, which was 3 months later, she didn't set foot into another hospital. And so up until that point, she'd been in and out, in and out, in and out, like week on, week off. So what do you think, Pam, happened in that case? Did we nail an underlying remedy, or like what happened there? Because that blew me away.
Well, you know what? Arsenicum is used to help people pass on. So I think it's I mean there's quite a few remedies there, and they've all got different uses. And yeah, like Ignatia, um, could have been useful. I mean, I don't know what her situation was, but I'd say that arsenicum probably helped her in her her final months.
Yeah, because it just like that just I was like, holy crap. And the fact that I only ran it the once, like there was no,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so I just wanted to share that. And that was one of my most powerful kind of things with it. The other things that I've got is like I've got a pain list for my sons. And I have in there, I say for my sons because they're the ones I run it for, but I have a CEFI list for them. And in that, I have things like aconite for shock. And what's the other one for bumps and bruises?
Arnica.
Arnica, yes. So that's in there. And I just have these in there as part of our toolkit. So once they have a stack and, because they're always
Yeah.
crazy things,
Yeah.
they're my first aid for them, but they're in my CEFI playlist, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
anyway, there's just a
Fantastic.
couple of ways that we use it. Now, I do have a few questions in here, so I'm going to refer back to them. Rosie said, is detoxing the same as treating a symptom?
Yeah, it kind of is. A detox is kind of a bit of a new thing, and it's become a bit of a buzzword. So we have because this is a thing now is we are dealing with people that are quite complex, not so much complex behaviors, but complex health issues. And so say you've got someone that's got chronic fatigue, and let's say they've been on medication for 90% of their life. And then let's say they had something happen when they're 20 years old that shook their world. And then let's say they had a bit of a rough childhood. So where do you start? You know?
And where do you start with it?
So you would start with, you've got to clear the medication
Mm,
layer first,
yeah,
because that's twisting the whole picture, if you like. Because
yeah.
what we're trying to do is recognize the remedy picture.
Mm,
And so and so if you're on medication, you're not really, it's because it's masking everything, you have to clear that first. So we might do a detox of the medication first and using homeopathically prepared pharmaceuticals.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And they work really well, really well.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's really cool.
And then you just work your way back. Yeah.
Another quick question that I have here as well is, are you seeing, like, are there specific remedy groups or miasms that are showing up more repeatedly with modern stresses or tech-related issues like EMFs and, the toxicity overload that we're having these days? Is there, I know
Um,
you mentioned cancers, like the carcinosis is coming up a lot for people.
mm, yeah. I don't put that much weight into it, to be fair.
Mhm.
Because I mean it's fascinating. It's a fascinating part of the whole, it's learning about the miasms. However, we only use a miasm if there's a block. So if you've got a well-selected remedy, it's not working, or it should work, you think, why is that? What's going on here? So you might use a miasm. So recently, for example, I had an eczema case, really severe, and I was trying these different remedies, and nothing was. She was just come back and said, "I'm still scratching myself." Like she was scratching herself to shreds. And so I thought, oh, well, try miasm. And yeah, we're starting to make some progress.
Yeah.
So she's just been taking a miasm, and then give it some. I mean, eczema's takes such a long time,
It does.
but then we'll see what else comes up.
It's
Yeah.
interesting actually because I'm finding, and I don't know if anyone else on the call is finding this as well, but that miasms are coming up a lot in the AO scan for me and for clients. And so I'm actually working with someone with some massive allergy stuff at the moment, and miasms showing up for her to work with. But yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Well, just one more part about that miasms is, yes, we also have, you have miasms, you have remedies that are made from the miasm, but then you've got remedies that belong to that miasm.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, say for
Yes. Okay.
example,
So it's quite deep.
tuberculinum is
Yes.
a really well used miasm.
Yep.
It's also a nosode because it's made from the tissue, so it's a remedy would use. But then you've got the tubercular miasm itself, so remedies that are part of that miasm, part of the family, if you like. So your
Mm.
NatMers and that sort of thing that have tubercular traits but are not tuberculinum. Does that
Ah.
make sense? You
Yes.
don't
Yeah. It
like a
does
lot of
to me.
words.
No, it does to me. Yeah, excellent. And so where would someone go to learn more about that?
Honestly, it just takes time because you have to know the basics first.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
And what
yeah.
are nosodes? Because we've got nosodes in the scanner too.
Okay, nosodes are made from diseased tissue.
Okay. Yeah.
So your gonorrhea, which is
Mm-hmm.
Metaurinum, tuberculinum, which is made from the sputum of tuberculosis. I mean, it blows my mind that someone thought, hey, you
Yes.
take a remedy out of jizz. I mean, like,
I know, right? It's crazy.
I mean, it just goes on.
Mm.
And, cancer tissue. I mean, there's actually something I didn't realize, but there's something like 30 different tuberculinum tissue. And I'm just like, why have we got so many different tuberculinums? Anyway, what else? So diseased tissue, um, probably like pyrogen, like which is made from infected rotten meat.
Mm.
Yeah, that's used for like really severe sepsis, septicism. Yeah, so that's what nosodes are. So they do need to be all remedies need to be used with care and respect because it can go really wrong, you know. And I guess the little bit of frustration is, of course, we want everyone to use homeopathy, but you do need to learn how to use it, you know,
Yeah.
and learn what it is and start from the beginning.
Yeah.
And
So having
so what's happening is because we've got this plethora of information on our fingertips, you
yeah.
know, we've got podcasts and webinars and all the rest of it. So people are sort of sidestepping the learning the foundation and just going straight to NoSo, straight to miasms. You've got to learn the basics first and get comfortable with the remedies, get comfortable with how to using them, and then you learn exactly what you're doing is stimulating the system. But so what's happening is you're getting people that get a snippet of information, and so they're firing their dog with kennel cough, nosode, you know, left, right, and centre. I mean, if it's not needed, don't take it.
Yeah,
Basically.
absolutely. Judith's just asked, which repertory do you have?
Okay, so I've actually got a couple. So this one, I was trying to find my other one because it's a bit of an antique, but this one is Robert Murphy. So he's a really well-known homeopath in America. This is probably a fairly newish one. You can see it's pretty thick. And then I have the Kent repertory, which is kind of the original, which was used back
Sorry,
in.
can you please let me know the actual title of that one? Thank you, Pam. It had
Just
homeopathic something, but I didn't get the rest of the details.
Oh, yeah, sure. I can put it in the chat if you like.
Thank you. Thank you.
No worries at all. So homeopathic medical.
And Michelle comment that homeopathy seems to work similarly to holograms and balances in kinesiology layer by layer, which is interesting. And yes, I find
Yeah.
that too. And Beck said, yes, miasms are showing up a lot in the scanner and to clear in kinesiology sessions. Yes. And Ali said that she has a wart issue on her son's forehead and she's been imprinting some frequencies into a cream and hoping to shift this virus with the AO scan. What are you actually imprinting, Ali? Maybe you could tell us. Coral said she's interested in getting some of your online course info, please. So, yeah, we can definitely hand that on to you, Coral. And yeah, there you go. So that's the repertory there, Judith. Pam's just popped that in there.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I work with animals, Pam, so I definitely see interesting responses with them because, of course, there's no placebo effect, and what you get is authentically what it is. So I'm very interested in what you're talking
What animals are you treating?
Mainly dogs and cats, but horses sometimes as well. I do acupuncture on horses and dogs and a little bit on cats, but yeah, an alternative vet in many senses of the word. So I'm very interested in what that big thick book was you had, because I have other repertories, but I didn't have that one. So
Well, to be honest, so when animals were my first clients, if you like. Because I grew up on a dairy farm, so I
right.
was very eager to try out my skills on Dad's unsuspecting cows. But and you know, my dad's thinking my $2,000 a cow, you know.
Don't hurt it. Don't kill it.
Yeah. There was lots of eye rolling going on.
And definitely don't affect its milk production.
Yeah, that's all they worry about really. But the beauty of learning on animals is purely observation, you know, because they can't tell you anything. But you can look at, well, what are they doing differently and what you know, it's just observation. And so it's really good at learning observation skills. Yeah, I mean, any of the repertories would be good. I put on there the open online repertory, which is
Yeah, just
actually
saw that.
free.
Okay.
And that's really, it's not great. I'm gonna be honest. It's not as good as the others. But if you don't like the whole sort of you know, writing it all out and or the laborious kind of process, and you want it quicker and a chart come up, it's kind of a good place to start. So that's a good one. The Synergy software, that's more practitioner, it gets a bit more expensive. The Kent's Repertory is one like back in Hahnemann's day, so dating back to 1800. And then this is probably, there's a few more, but this is probably the most recent. The thing is what I like about actually writing it out is I go through each remedy and I can think about it and I can think, does this fit? Does this fit? You know? So I actually have my little process of elimination, which makes it all quite quick, really. And what I also like about using a book is it can sort of trigger other things. You think, oh, actually, there's that. And, you know, it's sort of a bit more of an organic process. With when I use a software, I might put in a rubric and nothing comes up, and I'm like, and then, you know, I find it kind of because you're using computers, just a little bit more frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no problem
awesome.
at all.
And so, Pam, where can people find you? So Coral's interested in your online course, and there's probably going to be others maybe listening to the call. So
Yeah,
what is,
no
yeah, where do
problem
we
at all.
find you?
So my website is Pam Andrews Homeopath. I'll put it on there, .com.
Yep.
Better spell homeopath right. So, and I live in Daisy Hill.
In Brisbane.
And if you're on WhatsApp, I'm on WhatsApp. 212103. My email is info@pamandrews.com.
Perfect. And you can always reach out to me as well, because I'll have all of this info for anyone who is interested as well. Thank you so much, Pam. This has been really great. I hope everyone's enjoyed it tonight. And we will have a little bonus for joining tonight. Not sure if we've cooked up that yet, just yet, but it will come to you. So if everyone can jump over into the chat after we're finished and just share something that you learned or enjoyed about the call, that would be wonderful. And then I'll know who to send the little bonus to. But I think it'll be something, yeah, quite fun. It'll be a surprise. Awesome.
I really appreciate this opportunity. It's been really fun and great little
Great
audience.
just to pick your brains and to understand it a little bit more. So thank you so much, Pam. I really appreciate it.
No problem at all.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome. So good night, everyone. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch with that little freebie, after the call. Oh, probably tomorrow sometime, really. Okay, good night, everyone. Thank you. Okay, good night.